I got my first guinea pig when I was about 6. We went to fetch him from somebody my dad knew from work. I only half noticed the odd look my parents exchanged when they asked me what I was going to call him, and I said, Roland. That was the first time the name came up. Well, that summer we were on holiday in Tenby and I wanted a t-shirt with my name on it. We ordered it at a beach stall and they told us that they had another couple of orders to fill, so we went for a drink in a nearby cafe and came back in half an hour. The t-shirt had been printed and popped into a gift bag. My father paid, and as we walked away, I took out the shirt to inspect it. There was a picture of a sand castle with Tenby printed underneath, and above, in big black letters, the name Roland. My mum gave a little gasp. Then my dad laughed nervously and said it was too big for my guinea pig, so they'd have to do it again. The man looked puzzled, but he could see I wasn't a Roland, so he did it there and then in front of us. Rosalind. I went off happily with my new t-shirt over my bathers. A few years later, we were in Lyme Regis and in a gift shop. I thought I saw a mug with my name on it through the window. They had napkin rings with names on too. We went inside and I rushed over to the mug stand. Oh, must have been a trick of the light. There was no Rosalind, only Rosa and Roland. I was disappointed. On my first day at secondary school, we were all congregated in the big hall, or the new intake, in our new and ill-fitting uniforms. Some of the girls had skirts that they would never actually grow into, and some had even bought the awful little hat with the elastic under the chin. A teacher called out everybody's name in alphabetical order and told us to get into groups, as this was how we were to be divided into forms. It was a big school and there were 4 forms in each year. She went through the A's. Jacob Abrahams, Sharon Ardley, Christine Armitage, Paul Aston, Karen Avery, Peter Eyre. The children migrated to the spot she indicated. Then on to the B's. Hilary Bolsover, Sanjay Banerjee, Edward Bannister, Sarah Boot, Eric Bannon, Carl Beckford, Brian Branston, Elijah Biggs, and so on. When she got near to the end of the B's, I was surprised to hear there was another Buck in my year. Roland. Roland, like my guinea pig. Roland Buck, the teacher called out. Roland? Roland Buck? No Roland Buck was forthcoming. She looked around, scanning the crowd of nervous faces, and she made a mark on her list and went on, Jennifer Bush. But she didn't call my name. I should have been immediately after Roland Buck and before Jennifer Bush. I waited patiently as she went through the list and finally got to the end. I was left in the middle of the hall, alone and embarrassed. I flushed. Hello, said the teacher. Didn't you catch your name? No, I replied. Well, who are you then? Rosalind Buck. She flipped back all the pages until she got to the B's and ran her finger down the list. That's odd. There's only a Roland Buck and he doesn't appear to be here. Where do you live? I told her. Oh, you know what? I think it's a spelling mistake. I'm going to put you over here in 1S with Mrs. Stanek and I'll sort out the paperwork later. Sorry about that. Not a good start your first day with us. Never mind. You're where you belong now. Well, of course, it kept happening because that was the name they'd put into the system, and I continued to correct teachers all through that first term. And when my name tapes arrived late, like everything else in our house, because they'd only been ordered the week before and everybody wanted name tapes, the expensive embroidery read Roland Buck. I'd lost half my sports kit before the new tapes arrived with my own name on. And then there was that odd incident where they posted our year's rugby team on the notice board and a certain Roland Buck was listed as scrum half, whatever that might be. Turned out to be another spelling mistake. You should have been Ronald Black. But you have to admit, it was odd all the same. After secondary school, I went to music college. It was brilliant being part of such a great orchestra, and I was excited in the lead up to our first concert with a paying public. The programme was printed with a photo of the entire orchestra on the front, and all the pieces were listed inside with the soloists' names and photos. I scanned the pages looking for the nocturne from Mendelssohn's Midsummer Night's Dream, in which I was playing first horn, and therefore the famous solo that leads in the entire orchestra. I was so proud. There it was. Oh no, not again. First horn, Roland Buck. And there was a profile picture, but it wasn't me. It looked like a boy. But who was he? I didn't recognise him. This was really too bad. I'd worked so hard. They'd never reprint the programmes just for my solo. After the concert, with a lot of clapping at the end of the nocturne, my mother seemed a little distant, and I saw her put the programme in the bin on the way out. Well, it didn't end there. I opened a bank account, and when the card and chequebook arrived, the envelope was addressed to Roland Buck, and both card and chequebook bore that name. It all got sorted out, of course, but I was really getting fed up with it. It almost seemed as if the name were haunting me. My first flat and my first gas bill arrived in the name of Roland Buck. I had to get my driving licence corrected, as it came in the name of Roland Buck. I admit the difference between the two names, Rosalind, Roland, is only a few letters, but honestly, well, that flat was not far from my aunt's house, and I often went round there for a cup of tea. One day I was poking a bit of lettuce through the bars of her budgie's cage and started to moan about all the name mix-ups and how much of a hassle it was. My aunt went quiet. I turned round to look at her. Her face was pale. "Didn't you know?" she asked. "Know what?" "Didn't your parents ever tell you about Roland?" "What? I don't know what you're talking about." "They never told you you were a twin?" My mouth went dry. "They named you both after the scan where they found out the sexes, but then poor little Roland was stillborn." Her voice trailed off as I sat down heavily.